Hi, my name is Garrett Christopher, and this is my YouTube channel. This is called Garrett's Movie Take. And right now I'm in the middle of talking about Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. I just watched it last night, and I want to talk to you about it and give my point of view. By the way, please visit GarrettChristopher.com. You'll find out more about me. I'm a self-published author. I've got some books out there, a couple of audio books. I've got a book on the way in a couple of months. If you don't like long novels, this one is just shorter. It's a series, a sci-fi series called The Takeover. And I have two other YouTube channels. There's Garrett's Take, which is more on the serious side, and Garrett's Sports Take. Please sports, check it in. And with anything you visit, please leave me comments and let me know what's going on. Follow me. I'll follow you back. No problem. I also do, I forgot to mention last time, a weekly podcast available on Spotify and Soundcloud. So please check that out as well. All right. So let's follow up with what I felt was going on here with Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I had my popcorn, had my soda, large soda. And, had a good time watching it. There were a couple of times I started to kind of phase out a little bit. I tend to daydream. So with me, if something is not keeping me engaged, my mind starts to float around. It's not hard to do, trust me. Anyone who knows me knows that my eyes get glazy and I'm just like, staring into space. But in this case, a couple of things kind of got there. A couple of really cool fight scenes with some really great audio, some music to back it up. But I was talking about how, to me, the direction of it, and again, I always think about when Kevin Feige or whoever is sitting in a boardroom and they're talking with the writers and the scripters and the director and all the producers, all this, and they're talking about the movie itself. There's a direction, and then of course when you put everything together, I'm not a director by any stretch of the imagination. I've put together songs before, and a lot of times they come out totally different than what you'd anticipated, right? Because you have people involved. You have different musicians and singers and da-da-da. And it just becomes really, really different than what you had originally planned. Sometimes better, sometimes not as good. Sometimes you go back years later and say, man, I wish I'd done that, right? Great, ideas change. So I get that. It's not like you can take what you talk about, and record in a boardroom and just, boom, make it materialize out there. There are a lot of things involved. But I think when you have a certain amount of money, and I'm pretty sure that Marvel has, in Disney, they have some money to spend. And they decided to spend some money on this movie like they should. It wasn't cheap by any stretch of the imagination. But I just wonder if, when you're getting in there and you're looking at things, and even on the cutting room floor, I felt like some things needed to resonate a little longer, some scenes, a few seconds. Sometimes a couple, 3 seconds can make a heck of a difference and make it into a special film. So when I talked last time about how this was a conglomeration of, it's a Disney film with all of the different, what I deem as the Disney components, right? As far as the characters, how they relate, family struggles, you got the sidekick friend and the possible love interest, all this kind of stuff, right? I saw it as like national treasure. Not in the sense of like the same type of plot, but the same type of feel. But then you also had a little bit of never-ending story in there. At one point in the beginning, especially, you had a little bit of, what was that movie way back when where people were like floating around, and what was it, like fighting dragons and hidden tigers or something like that. I watched 10 minutes of it. I couldn't do it anymore. You had a little bit of that, very fantastical up front, and then it got real, which I just loved. And then it got fantastical again, and I was okay. The imagery was cool. Definitely cool. It also reminded me of some of my favorite, not arcade games, but when you go casino games, as far as slot machine games, a little bit of that. And now I don't know a lot about Oriental culture. So as far as some of the moves, the hand gestures, the foot gestures, the moves, martial arts, that kind of thing, I'm sure there was a lot of symbolism in there, and they were following, I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure they were. A lot of that, plus the different animals and the creatures that were there, very much so, which I would expect, which is great. I just don't think it added a lot to the movie, and to me, it kind of took away, because how everything was set up. Because to me, about halfway through, it changed from this story that was cemented in blah blah blah, and then went into something much more fantastical. And maybe that was always the goal, right? And you did have the scene, now I'm thinking about it, at the top, which was very fantastical. Then you had like a real life present day thing for a good 45 minutes or so, and then it got into, okay, where are we headed now? Where are we really going? Back into the fantastical. So I guess I could say that was the idea from the beginning. I'm just not a fan of that. I don't I won't watch Neverending Story, Fantastical Beasts, and the people who love them. Whatever the plots are, I'm sure they're great movies, and the kids and the people that are in them, fantastic. I'm sure. Get it? But I'm just not into that, so it didn't lend itself toward me. I felt there was enough with the characters they had and the plot they had to kind of deal with that. And like I said, a couple of fight scenes. You could have thrown two more in there that were along the same lines as far as the music. Remember how Ant-Man, which wasn't the best movie in the world, um, had a couple scenes where they kind of went and they would talk about a couple of things and have the music behind it and all this kind of stuff and like that. I can't think of the actors. Michael Pena, right? Is it Michael Pena? Please forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but I love him to death. But and they would go and do that kind of thing. So great, and it added some flavor to that movie. So much so they brought it a couple scenes like that, or maybe just one scene back for number 2, right? Ant-Man and the Wasp. In this case, I felt like these fight scenes were strong enough, and the music was so cool, and set it to me apart from other Marvel/Disney movies, because you hadn't really had that in there. You know, when you had Iron Man, well, no, that's incorrect. Iron Man 1, as far as the music, was off the chains as far as the rock music. That was really, really cool. But the Captain America stuff, the Avengers stuff, you had score, but you didn't have like songs in there, right? Performance songs that were happening, and that was really, really cool. I would love some more of that. Just my take on it. So how do I rate it? I was asked when I got home last night. I give it a B. I give it a B just because I felt there was a lack of direction, some things that, okay, cool, you bring this in, but sometimes you make a decision, right? You can't add everything in. You can't use every cool idea. You got to stick with something that is going to work and make it a little bit different. And I felt this movie had the opportunity to be something really cool and different, and not so much edgy. It was never edgy, but definitely different, and it became more of the same, right? You're not surprised by a National Treasure movie or The Neverending Story or, you know, something like that. You're just not. And you weren't surprised here. And I felt some editing, some things didn't resonate. There were some things that popped in, popped out just way too quick for me. Transitions were off. Maybe they got into a time crunch. But to me, if you got in a time crunch, there were other scenes I would have pulled out and other things, a whole like variant line I would have pulled out before I would have chopped off some other things like that too. So yeah, no spoilers here, but that's what I thought about the movie. So please, when you watch it, let me know what you thought. The Rotten Tomato score is like, I think 96%, something like that. I definitely wouldn't have given it that. I did enjoy it though. I will see it again at some point in time. Not rushed to see it again, but I will see it at some point, mainly because those fight scenes are really, really cool. Yeah, so there you have it, and there's my take. Again, I'm not saying this is one of my best and favorite movies ever. I just seen it. It's a new movie, new release, so I want to talk about it here. I will promise I'm going to get to Black Widow and talk about that one. Hey, thanks so much for checking in. My name is Garet Christopher. This is my YouTube channel, and like it or not, you're watching it. So there you have it. So there you have it. Hey, take care. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording.